Nimrod, the ruthless and cruel king who defied God by saying, "I am the king of all creation." Sentenced to the torments of hell, Nimrod would be the cruelest ruler the world had ever seen for 400 years. Yet, in the early days of his reign, he ruled with justice and mercy. But as time passed and his kingdom expanded, so did his arrogance. He ordered statues to be erected in his honor and elevated himself to the status of a false god, demanding that people worship him. One night, King Nimrod had a dream where he saw a newly born star whose brightness outshined the light of the moon and the sun. Alarmed, he immediately called his soothsayers to interpret the dream. They warned him that a baby boy would be born in his kingdom, a child who would change the people's faith and ultimately cause Nimrod's death. Consumed by fear, Nimrod ordered the merciless killing of all newborn boys in the land and commanded that men be banished from the city to prevent them from being with their wives. That very night, without an ounce of regret, he slaughtered every male child. However, trusting his servant Azar, Nimrod allowed him to stay in the city, on the condition that he would not see his wife. Yet Azar secretly visited her, and when she became pregnant, he hid her in a cave outside the city. In that cave, illuminated by divine light, a child was born, Ibrahim Alaihissalam. Day by day, Nimrod's victories and the lands he conquered continued to grow. As his dominion expanded, so did his arrogance. He oppressed his people in unimaginable ways. One day, he demanded that his people prostrate to him. Allah sent Ibrahim Alaihissalam to guide Nimrod and his people to the straight path. Prophet Ibrahim Alaihissalam was sent to the Chaldean tribe, but neither Nimrod nor the Chaldeans accepted his message because of their pride and arrogance. Once a year, the Chaldean tribe would gather for a festival. Azar said to Ibrahim Alaihissalam, "Come celebrate the festival with us today." But Ibrahim Alaihissalam replied that he was ill and stayed behind. While the people were away, Ibrahim Alaihissalam went to the temple and shattered all the idols with an axe, except for the largest one. He then hung the axe around the neck of the great idol. In the evening, when the Chaldeans returned from their feast, they were shocked by what they saw. They said, "Who has done this to our gods? He must indeed be some man of impiety." They said, "We heard a youth talk of them. He is called Abraham." They said, "Then bring him before the eyes of the people, that they may bear witness." They said, "Art thou the one that did this with our gods, O Abraham?" He said, "Nay, this was done by. This is their biggest one. Ask them if they can speak intelligently." So they turned to themselves and said, "Surely ye are the ones in the wrong." Then were they confounded with shame? They said, "Thou knowest full well that these idols do not speak." Abraham said, "Do ye then worship, besides Allah, things that can neither be of any good to you nor do you harm? Fie upon you, and upon the things that ye worship besides Allah. Have ye no sense?" he said. "This is mentioned in the Quran." Then did he turn to their gods and said, "Will ye not eat of the offerings before you? What is the matter with you that ye speak not intelligently?" Then did he turn upon them, striking them with the right hand. So he broke them to pieces, all, but the biggest of them, that they might turn and address themselves to it. They said, "Who has done this to our gods? He must indeed be some man of impiety." They said, "We heard a youth talk of them. He is called Abraham." They said, "Then bring him before the eyes of the people, that they may bear witness." They said, "Art thou the one that did this with our gods, O Abraham?" He said, "Nay, this was done by. This is their biggest one. Ask them if they can speak intelligently." So they turned to themselves and said, "Surely ye are the ones in the wrong." Then were they confounded with shame? they said. "Thou knowest full well that these idols do not speak." Abraham said, "Do ye then worship besides Allah things that can neither be of any good to you nor do you harm? Fie upon you, and upon the things that ye worship besides Allah. Have ye no sense?" When Nimrod came to Anatolia and Urfa for conquest, the elders of the city informed him that they were suffering because of a young man named Ibrahim Alaihissalam, who refused to worship idols and even harmed them. Nimrod summoned Ibrahim Alaihissalam and tried to persuade him to worship the idols. This event is mentioned in the Quran as follows: "Are you, O Prophet, not aware of the one who argued with Abraham about his Lord, because Allah had granted him kingship? Remember when Abraham said, 'My Lord is the one who has power to give life and cause death.' He argued, 'I too have the power to give life and cause death.' Abraham challenged him, 'Allah causes the sun to rise from the east, so make it rise from the west.' And so the disbeliever was dumbstruck. And Allah does not guide the wrongdoing people. When Prophet Ibrahim Alaihissalam said, 'My Lord is the one who gives life and causes death,' Nimrod, enraged by his words, gathered his associates to consult about what punishment should be given to him. A wretched man named Hanun suggested, 'Let us throw him into a great fire.' This proposal was accepted, and preparations for the fire began. For an entire month, wood was gathered. The ignorant and foolish people said, 'This man is opposing our idols,' and they too joined in the effort, collecting wood. A mountain of wood was piled up, and the flames of the fire reached the heavens. The heat was so intense that even the birds could not fly near it. Once all preparations were complete, the people gathered around the fire. Ibrahim Alaihissalam, his hands bound in chains and feet shackled, was brought before them. But despite being in such a difficult situation, he remained in perfect submission and trust in Allah, with no fear or worry in his heart. As he was about to be thrown into the fire, Ibrahim Alaihissalam said, "Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs." According to the narration of Abdullah ibn Abbas, Ibrahim Alaihissalam sighed this as he was being thrown into the fire. The Prophet Muhammad also said these words when the disbelievers gathered against the Muslims and told them to look after themselves. Upon hearing this, the faith of the Muslims grew stronger, and together they declared, "Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs," showing an unparalleled example of submission to Allah. When Ibrahim Alaihissalam was about to be thrown into the fire, Jibril came and asked, "Do you have a wish?" Ibrahim Alaihissalam replied, "Yes, I have a request, but not from you." Jibril, in astonishment, asked Ibrahim Alaihissalam, "Why don't you seek deliverance from Allah?" He responded, "He knows my state. By whose command does the fire burn? Whose work is it to ignite?" Allah, the Exalted, was pleased with Ibrahim Alaihissalam for turning away even from the angels and directing all his pleas solely to the truth. And He mentioned him in the noble Quran, and of Ibrahim, who fulfilled his engagements, He praised him with a ayat-i-karima. Again, the Almighty Allah, when His Lord ordered him, "Submit to my will," he responded, "I submit to the Lord of all worlds," and with his ayat-i-karima, He presented and honored him as the epitome of submission. Allah Almighty commanded fire once again for Prophet Ibrahim Alaihissalam, who submitted to Him. "O fire, be cool and safe for Abraham." The Almighty Allah commanded Prophet Ibrahim Alaihissalam to depart from the land of Nimrod due to the immense calamities he would unleash upon it. This encounter between Nimrod and Prophet Ibrahim Alaihissalam is referenced in the Quran as follows. "Behold, he said to his father, 'O my father, why worship that which heareth not and seeth not, and can profit thee nothing? O my father, to me hath come knowledge which hath not reached thee. So follow me. I will guide thee to a way that is even and straight. O my father, serve not Satan, for Satan is a rebel against Allah most gracious. My father, I fear lest a penalty afflict thee from Allah most gracious, so that thou become to Satan a friend. The father replied, Dost thou hate my gods, O Abraham? If thou forbear not, I will indeed stone thee. Now get away from me for a good long while. Abraham said, Peace be on thee. I will pray to my Lord for thy forgiveness, for he is to me most gracious, and I will turn away from you, all, and from those whom ye invoke besides Allah. I will call on my Lord, perhaps by my prayer to my Lord, I shall be not unblessed. When he had turned away from them, and from those whom they worshipped besides Allah, we bestowed on him Isaac and Jacob, and each one of them we made a prophet. One day, Nimrod said, Where is this God of Ibrahim? If I meet him, I will destroy him. I will mingle with the earth, and the Lord of Ibrahim will mingle with the heavens. Nimrod made a plan. I will wound the God of Ibrahim. Sitting on a chest carried by 4 eagles, he ascended toward the sky. When he thought he was high enough, he shot an arrow into the sky. When the arrow returned, he saw blood on it and thought he had harmed Allah. Nimrod said to Ibrahim Alaihissalam, Call your Lord, and I will go to war with him with all my armies. After a long wait, when he saw Ibrahim Alaihissalam approaching alone from a distance, he mocked him, saying, Now you are disgraced. Did I gather all these armies for one man? Where is your God, and where is your army? Ibrahim Alaihissalam calmly said, Wait, he will come soon. Wait. Soon, an army of mosquitoes attacked Nimrod and his soldiers. No one could open their eyes or see their surroundings. The characteristic of this mosquito army was that it attacked relentlessly, devouring a person's skin until their bones were exposed. Seeing his soldiers in a miserable state, Nimrod fled toward his palace in fear. Just when he thought he was safe, a lame fly entered through a hole in the door. The fly crawled into Nimrod's nose and reached his brain, buzzing so intensely that it ruptured his brain vessels. Unable to bear the excruciating pain, Nimrod began banging his head against the walls in a desperate attempt to kill the fly. But this method failed. So he hired mallet makers and said, Whoever strikes harder, I will pay him more. For 400 years, the same head that once wore the crown of a king was beaten with mallets. Allah increased Nimrod's torment day by day. Finally, after a powerful blow, his brain shattered and he died on the spot. Allah has stated in the Quran, Then they sought a stratagem against him, but we made them the ones that lost most. As an example for us, Allah turned Nimrod and his wretched people, who were so proud and arrogant of their earthly kingdom, into dry, lifeless creatures whose blood was sucked by flies until they turned to dust. This bitter end reminds us of the transient nature of worldly blessings and the devastating consequences of arrogance towards Allah. Ibrahim's patience, submission, and unwavering faith teach us to trust in Allah and rely on Him in every difficulty. Allah protects the believers and destroys the oppressors in the most unexpected ways when He wills. This parable will always remain a lesson for humanity. May Allah keep us on the right path. Greetings and prayers.